Hello, and welcome to the Believing Better series, day number 4. Our guest is Peggy Fontenot from Louisiana. Peggy is an integrative spirituality coach and retreat leader. Peggy has done private coaching with me, as well as been all the way through the coach program and is now in Self-Healing Masters. And we're talking about her journey to believing better. So Peggy, I'm going to ask you to take us all the way back to the beginning.
Wow, seems like forever ago. So the beginning was my brain went crazy one night. And we talk a lot about, or we hear a lot about, the dark night of the soul. This was a dark night of the mind. I was literally hearing both sides of my brain speak at the same time. One side was saying, you're wasting your time, you're not doing anything. The other one was like, no, you're doing this and you're doing that. And then the negative side would come back. And it went on for several minutes. And then the negative side said, actually, Peggy, the world would be better without you in it. And the other side of my brain went, whoa. And I like sat up in bed. I'm like, what the heck? Like, what is going on? Like, I think I'm depressed, but I wasn't really feeling depressed. I was just feeling like I was wasting my life, literally. You know, I moved out here to the sticks, as Kim mentioned earlier, to the little woods, and with a dream. And I had been here for several years, and that dream was not being fulfilled. I was in a deep, deep slump, and I reached out to Kim. And that's how the story began. I did a 3-month personal coaching with her, and she helped me to get out of the so-called depression without me ever taking any medication. I had a history of having depression during the fall and winter and getting on antidepressant tablets. And since doing this work with Kim, I've never had that depressed feeling again. I've never thought to go get medicine. I'm here, and I think I'm here for a lifetime, however long that is.
That looks. So let's talk about the dream that you had, the vision that you had, because that's when I met you. I'm going to tell my side of the story.
Okay.
Is Peggy reached out to me one day. I had been traveling a lot. I was teaching aroma touch. I had been kind of coming and going, and I had a message on my phone saying who you were and a little bit about you, and that you had gone into a local place looking for some kind of natural something, right? Some supplement or something. And the little girl there said, oh, you need to meet Kim. That's really where it began. And then I messaged you back, and then I went to your house, and I think my dad had just died, because I remember there being a feather across the steps. And that's what I remember at the very beginning. And then you shared your vision with me at that time about coming out here and having this little space around Chico Park, and, having a retreat facility, or just a place for people to come and be themselves, come and unwind, come and heal. And that vision is what was not coming to fruition, right? That's what you were so
Yes.
depressed about, is like, I moved out here and no one's coming. No one wants what I have. No one. Would you say that that's?
Definitely, yes. Um, I don't think I would have moved from the city to here for me just to live here. Actually, when I purchased this property in this little house, it was specifically for a retreat space. I never at that point intended to make this my residence and live here. So going back to that story of meeting the young girl, like, I had been here for like months, and I was like, there's nothing to do in this place. Like, oh my God, like, I need to go drive down that Ville Platte area and see if there's some holistic wellness something somewhere. And I went down one main street. I didn't see a thing. I'm like, oh no. And then I came up the other street, and it was something aesthetics and wellness. And I went, oh, wellness. And I went in there, and it wasn't really the wellness that I was thinking about, but it did bring me to Kim. And so the dream at that time was, I had already been bringing women to Chico State Park, to the woods, for camping retreats and doing that work. And then I thought, would be so much nicer if we had more convenience. And if I could find a place in the woods with a little house. And I went looking everywhere else but here. I had a shamanic auric reading one time, and the spirit guides told the shaman for me to go back to the place where I was born. I was looking for something in the wrong places. And I went, I was born in St. Landry, Louisiana, which is just down the road. And I know there's nothing there. So I didn't listen. And that went on for 3-4 months. And I decided maybe I should listen. And so I came back and looked at the rentals and the sales and all of that and found the perfect little place for me. And moved here after about 6 months of owning it and traveling back and forth from Lafayette, and thought for sure my friends would come here. Like, it's so much nicer than a tent in the woods, you know, having to walk to go to the restroom or to take a shower. Like, they could just come and sleep in the upstairs loft and have the convenience, and we could cook, and it would be so much fun. And in the beginning, a few of them came, but then it was like, it's too far. It's a whole hour drive. And I'm like, oh, we drove to Chico State Park. It's just 15 minutes further, you know? And I gave up. Like, if my friends wouldn't come, well, who else would come? And how do I find the other people? Mm-hmm. And, you know, I would do a lot of things for free just to try to get people to come here. I was offering a lot of things. People would say they'd come and then they didn't. And I was like, oh my God, like, I just made the biggest mistake in my life.
This is so important for you health and wellness practitioners here, or anyone who's ever wanted to start their own business or any of that, that it's like, it's so exciting when we see the vision and we're like, and we say yes, and it doesn't look like it's supposed to look, right? And it's those old beliefs of we create it. Like, we create the vision from the old identity.
Yes.
And so I remember our conversations around that, exactly what you were just talking about. And you know me, and I have a local business, and I experienced that myself. Like, I want everyone to do yoga and to come to the mindfulness stuff and to come and want to get healthy. And, you know, it's so disappointing. Why don't people just do what we want them to do?
Right.
And we wouldn't be depressed, right? It's all their fault. That's kind of where our brain goes.
Lots of blame.
Victim in the beginning. Yeah.
Yes, lots of being the victim.
Yep. So for those who have been listening to the podcast, Peggy was on episode 57. So if you haven't heard that, you can go back and listen to it again, because we're going to kind of take you through where she was and where she is now, which is what you just said. I was doing things for free. I think I referred to it as like selling coffee for $10 or something. And I was like, that's going to be rather frustrating.
That story right there, it was like, I was doing it for nothing. And so one day I decided I'm going to be brave and I'm going to charge $10. And Kim came back with that, well, what are you doing?
Like, what the hell's happening here?
I'm like, I don't know. Tell me, what am I doing? You know, it's not having that belief and not having that confidence.
So the belief was, what was the belief behind doing it for free and doing it for $10? If it's cheap.
Right. The belief was, if it's free, they'll come. If it's cheap, they'll come. Mm-hmm. The belief was, I didn't believe in myself. Mm-hmm. You know, like, when they wouldn't come for free and they wouldn't come for $10, like, what would make me think that they would come for more? Mm-hmm. No, I didn't have confidence. I didn't think I was smart enough. Then I started the judgment and comparison. I didn't think the house was good enough. No, not only I wasn't good enough, but the house wasn't good enough. The land wasn't good enough. I was doing it wrong. Like, I don't even know how to do this. Like, what was I thinking? You know, so the belief was really, the belief was total disbelief. Mm-hmm. Like, there was a dissonance. I believed it could happen. And then I had like evidence that it wasn't happening. And what do I do? Yeah.
And I remember you stepping into belief. Do you remember the audio we did? there was a recording, a replay of people are coming,
Yes,
flying
yes,
in, driving in, walking
right.
in.
Yes,
That really started opening up things for you.
right. Yes, we did a I'm going to call it a healing meditation. You
Yeah,
know,
we did a deep healing session.
yeah, we were doing some coaching. You were doing some coaching with me, and you said, "Let's go here," and we did. And then I started listening to that.
Mhm.
You know, like it became a daily meditation practice, and it was visualizing the people walking in, driving in, flying in. And I think I must have listened to that for 60 to 90 days. And then I'm going to just tell that story because I might cry. I don't know. Um, it was so profound for me. I'm Native American and I follow my Native American spiritual path. And I wanted to have a sweat lodge here on my property for people to come and pray and heal. And finally, it happened. I had some help from some community people, and the lodge was built, and it was going to be my first lodge here on the land. And my neighbor walked across the street, just check it out. Uh, One of the other coaches, you might have heard from her this weekend, Petra. She drove in from Alexandria. Her fiance drove in from Arkansas.
Mhm.
And Kim had been out in the world somewhere, and she changed her plane flight and flew in early enough to come. So there it was. Someone walked in, someone drove in, someone flew in. And that lodge was being poured on the 1 year anniversary of Kim and I beginning this work. I got to take a few deep breaths here.
Yeah, how did that moment feel with that realization? Like,
It was so amazing, like for real, like this stuff is for real.
mhm.
When you do this work, the punchline approach, when you do the presence and you do the unveiling, you do the navigating, and then you choose what it is that you want, you know, and you make that commitment and you cultivate it and you just continue doing it. Like I just kept moving forward and moving forward and moving forward. And my moving forward sometimes was like tiptoes and
Mhm.
then steps and then tiptoes and then steps. But there it was. The dream was there. You know, it was so amazing. I remember being just so touched that whole afternoon and that evening, and especially in the lodge when I realized it was the 1 year anniversary and Kim was sitting next to me and Petra was in there. And it was just like, oh, no, I didn't think I had a community. And here's my community. It's like right here. So like, I think if we have a dream and
Mhm.
we work toward that dream and stay with it, we can manifest it.
And imprinting the sensation, the visual that we did, going through that and imprinting what it would feel like so that you could cultivate that feeling. And
Mhm.
then before you know it, it's so freaky once it's there. Because you remember when I found myself at the end of my driveway,
Right.
going somewhere, I was on a solo trip, I had no idea where. It had been playing in my head for a year, almost to the date. And I did a Facebook Live. I was like, oh, I had a new car and the new car was in the vision and I was in the new car and I didn't plan on buying a new car. What's happening here? It's so weird because you're sitting in the reality of what was a thought, a thought creation or a thought baby, and suddenly it's there. It's so humbling.
Very much so.
So let's talk about the way there. The falling apart stuff.
Oh, wow. The way there.
Yeah, we don't want to skip any important parts of the story. So that's like, okay, that we arrived there, but what was it like in the middle when we were breaking these old beliefs from childhood, from young adulthood, because there was quite a bit.
It was quite a bit. It was quite a journey. Um, I had to learn how to be vulnerable. I had to learn how to trust. And I had to learn how to use my voice and open myself up. You know, I'm going to say it was simple, but it was not easy,
Mhm.
not easy at all.
You got
It's just,
mad at me a few times.
oh, yeah. Yeah, that happens, your coach takes you down some little road that you don't really want to go to. Your brain is saying, no, 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 I don't. For me, a lot of times it was, even though I was feeling miserable, it was like I was in a safe zone there.
Yeah.
Like I knew what that misery felt like, but I didn't know, I didn't have any evidence of what the other thing would feel like.
Mm. And the vulnerability is so scary. So it's like, let's just go back to the crap because I know how to handle that.
Right, exactly, but as my coach and doing the punchline approach, there was no way for me to stay or go back. Like it was, I had to make that commitment. And for me, it was not only a personal commitment, it was like a financial commitment. Like doing this work is the most money I have ever spent on myself. I grew up with a scarcity story. I lived a scarcity story. And for sure, I couldn't spend that kind of money on myself. And for sure, yes, everyone needs to spend this kind of money on themselves because it costs you way more to stay in that other story, in the old belief.
God, can you imagine if you would still be in the position you were in before?
I thought of that this morning, Kim. I said, I wonder where I'd even be. Like, I don't know if I'd still be here in this little house on this land doing this work. I don't know where I'd be. It's humbling to think back then to today.
Yeah. And so it's like when we think about vulnerability as the currency for the materialization of the vision, that vulnerability, and that's where we grow in that. It's like you can't see it, and that where you were is not where you can't stay there anymore, and yet you don't know what it's going to look like over here, and here's this person triggering all of the fears.
Can you just leave me alone?
Triggering, because it's like that, the punchline approach is a catalyst for change, and so it's going to unravel and tear apart those old stories. Otherwise you will recreate the same. It'll just look different. It'll be in a different house, right? Like what you did. It would just be in a different place, but you'll still keep creating it if you don't clean up the limiting beliefs or the old beliefs, the outdated belief system, the generational patterns, societal's dogma, religious conditioning, all of that stuff.
All of that. The religious conditioning and the dogma was part of why I couldn't, in my mind, make money doing the work that I was doing.
Yeah, that's so important for spiritual healers, energy workers, like all of this stuff. It's like, it just us helping people heal. There's a big hang up about that. Like you need to be doing it from a sacrificing place, or you shouldn't be profiting or benefiting. But it's like, that is a story of the past. We were taught that. Right. Doctors don't have a problem charging like to help people with their bodies.
Conditioned. As a young girl, I wanted to become a nun. I grew up Catholic and investigated that. I had to take a vow of poverty. And I'm like, I already think I'm living in poverty, and now I'm going to have to take a vow. I don't think I want to do that. And then when I discovered my Native American ancestry and became involved in that and was given some rights through the years and the ceremonies that I did, there again, it was like, but you're the spiritual person, so you don't take money.
Mm-hmm. Oh God, I remember hearing you.
You
this
don't
is the thing we worked through.
Yeah, it was huge for me to try to get through that.
Peggy, you were mad at me.
Yes, because you wanted me to charge and ask for money. And it was like, you don't understand.
People to use your service. They can't, if we don't charge money, then we don't allow them the benefit of buying it. Like, you can't have it without learning how to get over that shame.
And like, I didn't even realize it was shame. It was like I was following the rules. Like, you didn't understand the rules of my family. This is what we do. And this is what we don't do, but working through it, I did realize it was shame.
Yeah.
Well, so much shame.
It's unworthiness. I'm not worthy of, like, I have this natural gift. I've been committed to God or to spirit my entire life. I'm here to contribute. I'm here to serve. So many of us feel that way, right? This is The rest of the stuff, the material world doesn't matter. It doesn't get us going, right? Which what makes it so hard for us to charge or to be money driven. Money doesn't drive us. Helping
Right.
other people and connecting and contributing drives us. The
Yeah.
problem is if you don't get over that shame of charging or that unworthiness or that fear of charging, that lack of confidence, if you don't get over that, then you won't be able to do the thing that you're so passionate about, which is contributing and serving. Money is just the trade-off for that.
Yeah, now I know that. Now I can believe that. But back then there was no opportunity for me to even think that way.
Yeah, because I believed.
Because I believed that if I went against the crowd or the dogma, that I would be, you know, separated from them,
Punished.
punished, definitely punished, um, isolated. You know, there's a in the native traditions, there's a word called banishment, and people literally do get banished.
Mm-hmm.
The family just turns their back on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so afraid of that.
Mm-hmm. And then to be left alone, which is what you were already feeling, which was left alone.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And what is the belief now? So that was the belief.
That
What,
was the belief. Oh, I don't even know how to put the new belief in words. It's like, I believe that as a human being here with a passion and a purpose, that I need to do my service work. And in order for me to do that, I do need to have something come back to me. And in today's world, it is money, it's currency.
mm-hmm.
And when that currency comes in, I'm able to help more people.
Yes.
You know, it was the thing that was stopping me before, and now it's the thing that gives me more opportunity.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know I'm funny, but I'm like in so much, I'm just swimming in delight and joy and like watching, so many of you break through some of this stuff that has been there for 40, 50, 60 years. And like, I'm not going to say it was easy. It was cracking open. It was chiseling away. It was the removal of the mask was the task at hand, right? Like it was the removal of the mask and you couldn't see that it was a mask. You were, truly just doing what so many of you like, there's a right way or a wrong way and, being stuck in that. And then here's somebody else telling you this easy way or this fun way or this play. Like you remember, wait, this was a thing too. I don't know how to play.
Oh my God, that was huge. Yes. When I first started working with Kim, we had been maybe working together 2 or 3 weeks, and I was already like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't do this. And she says one day, with all the love in her heart, she says, just drop everything that we're doing. This week, I just want you to go out and play. And I froze. Well, no, 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 no. Let me do this other stuff. And she said, no, just go out and play, go have fun. I said, Kim, I don't know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I think, the hardest assignment ever really was to, how do I go out and play? How do I have fun?
Mm-hmm. Go pick up sticks, go walk the labyrinth, go walk on the property.
And those simple things I didn't even realize were fun. Like I didn't have the concept of play and fun.
Yeah, you were really attached to that story though, Peggy. I wasn't allowed to play. I couldn't play with the other kids. I had to sit with the adult. Like it was deep.
Definitely, it was deep. That was because of some pain history from childhood, being premature and being sickly, and the doctors telling my mother that, to keep me close to her, keep me inside because I could get sick, I could get hurt. And I bought 100% that story and took it into my adulthood.
Mm-hmm. And then you had the accident where the chiropractor or the surgeon, whatever, told you
Yes, yes.
again.
Then I was in a car accident and totaled my car, spent some time at the hospital, MRIs and all of that. And the neurosurgeon was very adamant that I needed surgery immediately. And I asked if I could sleep on it. And he said, okay. And the next morning he was like, we need to do this. And I just, not even knowing what I was doing, I checked in with my body and I just said no. But I bought his story too. And for the next 10 years, 8 years, something like that, 9 years, I didn't move around. Like I was so cautious in my body for fear that any little movement would create the spinal cord cut and I'd be paralyzed. Because that is what he said. If you don't do this surgery within 6 months to a year, you will be paralyzed.
I remember you would walk like that, like you were always like this. You were like one piece that didn't have flexibility and movement when we started working with your physical stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And here you were in this healthy body, and the belief that it wasn't, you were creating in your physical body.
Yeah, it was really strange because I really believed it. And they were like, my body would give me that evidence sometimes. Oh, this is feeling numb. This is feeling numb. And what changed that story was wanting to go to Nepal with my Buddhist teacher and him saying, oh, no, you can't go. You can't walk. You can't do these things. I'm like, what do you mean I can't go? And I was really hurt. And I went over to your yoga studio and I told you that. And you said, do you want to go? I'm like, yeah. And he said, well, let's get to work. And we did. And I went. And I climbed all the mountains that I didn't think I could climb and, rode on the bumpy bus on the bumpiest road in the world and didn't have any slipped neck, no paralyzation. It's like, oh my God, like, what have I been doing? Believing all these stories.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was the hardest part of the experience?
The hardest part of the experience.
Was it that I'm thinking that you had to kind of keep upping and keep upping and keep.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
like, that was a lot.
Yeah, yes. What for me in the beginning, it was the vulnerability. Like just really being able to shed it all in front of you and then in front of the other coaches. But yeah, the hardest part was, okay, now you did this, let's do this. And my old being was like, it's never enough, and it's never enough was because I was never enough. That was that old story. But having to like muster up my own commitment to myself and to what I was doing, was like, that was challenging for me, like to stay in the game.
Yeah. So this is for all of you who have scarcity. The craziest thing is scarcity requires an investment.
Yes.
It requires an investment in the belief in order to break it. It's very counterintuitive, but it does. I'll never forget when you paid that first time and I gave you an assignment on the spot. I used to do this with all my clients. I was like, write out the check and then contact me immediately, because I knew they would go into freeze and panic and like, this is like a used car. It's just like all these stories would come up. And I was like, this is our first bit of work together. Is you investing in yourself is likely going to be the hardest thing you've ever done.
Yes.
You're not investing in a car. You're not investing in like something for your house. Or this is in your personal growth and your healing. And you're going to freak out like instantly. The brain just, wow.
It did. And she said, gave me that little number. I'm like, what? I even think I said, wait a minute, like my little brain really went to work because I had been in the hospital like 30 years ago for the same problem, and my insurance paid most of it, but I had to pay the first 20%. And my 20% was $20,000. And I was only there for like 17 days. And this was a 90-day program, and the price was nowhere near $20,000.
Yeah, it's just so interesting that if this doesn't work, I spent this and this might not work, I think is the belief that makes it hard to invest. Because if you know it's going to work, there's no problem. You just do it.
Yeah, but it was like when I did those numbers, and I had to do that with my little brain at the time, it was like, this is like really affordable, and like, you just better go do it. And so I called Kim and I said, I'm thinking about it, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, well, write out the check and boom. I'm like right now, like today, like we're just having a conversation here. But she knew. And she said, nope, yep, right now. Either do it now, or don't do it at all. I'm like,
I think I said, send me a picture, take a picture of it, and then come and drop it off at the shop because you were local. I've done that to a few of you guys who live here. I was like, go put it in my desk and take a picture of it. The body would.
oh my God, I was so nervous. I think I even like took the slowest ride to get to your place to put that check in there. I had never like really just written that amount for myself ever.
Yeah, so good. So the hardest part was trusting myself, making the investment, would you say, and
Yes.
believing it was possible. What would you tell others now that are where you were? So someone who's in the position you were in,
Mhm.
they don't really know about coaching. They don't really know about the work that we do. They know that they are tired of being miserable or alone or depressed or struggling or not, whatever it was. We're going to talk about the story that made the difference too, because I still think that's the funniest story ever.
So I would tell someone who is in the position I was back then, so like depressed and all of that kind of stuff, um, like to check in with yourself. You know, for me, it was taking that first step. That was the life changer for me. It's like just go inside and realize that you are a human being here with a purpose and a passion, and that we need you.
Mm-hmm.
And we need you to just say, okay, today I'll take this one step, and take that one step. So you have no idea where that one step will lead you in all aspects of your life.
Yeah. The story I want to tell you guys, because it was kind of funny and kind of not, but I don't make this stuff up. It just happened. She and I were on the phone and she was contemplating about this, and a hearse passed on the highway. And I was like, a hearse just passed. Like, if you were in it, did you do everything you wanted to do? Like, how would you feel about, like, if this were the end, or, are you done? Did you do what you came here to do? And you were like, absolutely not.
That was a catalyst. And I was like, I can't believe she's saying that. Like
It
she's giving
passed. What do you want? It passed right there. And it was the first thing that came through my mind. And I was even thinking for myself, I take myself to those dark places and be like, and into that urgency of, if I were to die, it's in the book. If you were to get a diagnosis and you only had 3 months to live, what are the things that you didn't do that you really wanted to do? Are you satisfied?
that was huge. And it was funny, and it was not funny at all.
It was
that,
real though.
that was a wake-up call for me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But why not get it from that rather than a diagnosis or some sort of crisis?
Yes.
You can take yourself anywhere you want to go in your mind and then make a decision from there. How would you describe like the work that we're doing in Self-Healing Masters? How is that, how would you tell someone about it?
Oh, Self-Healing Masters is like, one of the things that I had the whole story about was like, I had no community here. Self-Healing Masters is the community here for me. It's a very safe place. It's a place where I get to grow, and I get to grow amongst my friends and people that I don't know personally yet, but like in that community, we're all getting to know each other, and it's really safe, and it's a place where I can go to meet people, to learn about myself, and learn about myself from the others. Like we do some coaching in there, and like I find that I can really relate to almost everybody, because we're all really the same.
Mm-hmm.
We're just in different little bodies in different places. But as humans, we all have the same needs. Whatever I'm needing, whatever you're needing, however I'm feeling, however you're feeling, someone else out there is needing and feeling that exact same thing. And so I find that in the community.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a place, to we're learning a bunch of fun things like the human design and the gene keys. And I know that Kim's got a whole other programs back set up for us. That's like,
Oh, it's going to be so fun.
yeah, he was giving me a little hint about the next program, like, oh, maybe I'm going to skip that program. And then, we've been playing around with it because, now I know how to play and have some fun and joy. And it's like, oh, yeah, I sent her a little thing the other day. I'm like, oh, this is it. Now, look what you opened up
Yeah.
for me.
So I had to learn how to play with you, though. It's like I got to give you an advanced warning and you have to tell me no first. And then we have to slowly warm up to the possibility, and then it starts coming on board. And what I love about it too is that we're like, I'm one of the students with you guys. There's no like head honcho there. You have your clients who are here on the call are
Yeah,
also in Self-Healing Masters. So it's like for all of us, it's the empowered human. It's not so much I'm the business person, I'm a coach, so I can't get coaching in front of my people because then they're going to think I'm not all that, or that stuff is all out of the way. And it's a place where we come and celebrate life and growth together.
right. It's where we can become who we really are, which that's my gig. Like, I want to really be all that I can be now, and that's what I do in my coaching. I help others, to come home to themselves.
Yeah.
I'm
And
coming
4 years ago, you probably wouldn't have been able to be coached in front of your clients, right? Because it was such a big
no,
deal.
it was huge.
And now you're like, I'm a human just like you. And this is where I learn, and come and learn too, and come and be with us. And so good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
The last one is, when looking back, what's one thing that your now self, so the Peggy today, would tell your past self?
Uh, so the Peggy today is going to tell a story, and it's going to refer to that. So years ago, I was in a workshop with a Native American woman. We were in a cafeteria with the big white and black square tiles, and she had us stand in each one tile. And so that's what I'm going to tell you. Stand in that one tile, and you look across the room, and it looks like an abyss. Your dream is on that other side. And so you look at that and you say, oh, that's way too far away for me to make that. But if you take one step, if you become that bravery, if you become the courageous, if you become the person who will dare yourself to take the one step, you do it, and you're in the next block. And then you take one more step, and then you take one more step. And 2.5, 3 years later, you're there. And it's all worth it. Every little step is worth it.
Especially when you're playing in the middle.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're playing. So we put the intention out into the quantum field and we experience that imprint, right? So it's like, that's already done. It's already out there. But now we got all this linear time to go through until it appears. So we just assume have fun.
Yeah. So like here you are in the beginning, and you think it's an abyss, but it's not an abyss. It's one step. It's coming into presence, unveiling, navigating, choosing, making the commitment, cultivating it, continuing. And that's it.
So Peggy's been since the beginning of the book. She edited the book, or what do you call that? Reviewed, looked over it.
Edited, yeah.
Proof. So we were already doing the process, talking about the process. We've done retreats, lots of things around it. And then I'm writing the book, and I'm freaking, right? She who freaks out about it. And so you did a lot of the editing, and it was so funny because I say some F-bombs every once in a while, and Peggy's like, and so one time in there it says Phrygian, F-R-I-G-G-I-N. I was like, that's the Peggy. Keep me clean. It was so funny. But so she's been with it. Her and Petra both are a part of when the book was written. That you two were probably the first two that really solidified it for me. And you were like, this is magic. This is everything. Out of all of the years, all of the spiritual things I've done, 30 years over, all of it, this explains it in such a simple way.
Yeah. Yep. So much work, that so many years, counseling, therapy, workshops, conferences, and just kept coming back to the same thing, same story. But the punchline approach really like was the earthquake that shook it all up.
Mhm.
Mm. You talk about getting in the ring, you know, it provided the ring for me personally to get in and, you know, get in there and punch it out. Let's just punch it out. Let's come into presence. And it wasn't, you know, sometimes it was like, yeah, man, it's a punch. And sometimes it was just like, oh, yeah, this is why I'm doing this. And this is where it's taking me.
Yeah.
And
Let's talk a little bit, and then because we're out of time, I mean, we're at the very end, and then guys, we're going to end this, and then you can hang out and ask questions. But let's talk a little bit about the actual package that you help people with, because you're all about ceremony. You are ceremony, right? And
yeah,
so I feel like we can't go on without mentioning that, because it's such a big part of what you do. It's the space you take in this world that is the position that you hold. It's the piece of the puzzle that you represent.
right. Um, well, that's a question I hadn't thought about, you know,
I
ask.
snuck it on you.
Yeah, you know, um, so, you know, I do one-on-one coaching and I offer a sacred rituals course. And for me, it's blending or one time Kim used the word braiding and I used to have long hair and I would braid it. And so that kind of touched me, you know, the braiding of my spiritual paths, you know, Christianity, Buddhism, Native
Mhm,
American,
mhm.
with the punchline approach. Um, it it braids all together, it blends in, maybe since it's cold outside, like a gumbo. You know, you put all these ingredients in that gumbo and it's so delicious. Um, in that, you know, I really do like listen to my clients and give them that space, give them their own space, but their own ceremony, their own ritual. And in doing that, that's how we walk ourselves home.
Mhm, mhm. I want to stay right there. It's all about coming back home to yourself, guys.
And
And there's so much magic in that. I don't know why we are so separate from ourselves. Because your experience, my experience, it took 30 years of all these different spirituality paths and, like therapy again, right? Doing all the stuff, trying to get rid of our past. And those were the things that we were told to do. But it really was not about that as much as it was about traveling back to our hearts, back to our souls, and discovering our true essence and really stepping in the confidence that there is a place for you here. You are worthy of a space on earth in
yeah,
this.
yeah. And you know, and I even bring the spirituality and the coaching into my retreats.
Mhm.
You know, there are no retreat people who come here and they don't get a little bit of the punchline approach.
Mhm.
You know, it's how we live life, how I live life today.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. I'm really holding true. I'm like 35, 40 minutes. That's it. So I'm going to end this. The replay for those who want the replay, I'll end this for you and then we'll hang out here for a few minutes. Thank you, Peggy. Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate your time and your service.
Thank you for inviting me and thank all the listeners who came on to be with us today. It's been a pleasure.